The film is 8 mm, grainy, and saturated with the warm, honey-thick colors of 1959. In the frame, a sun-drenched backyard in a new development outside of Phoenix. The grass is a perfect, artificial green. There is a charcoal grill puffing white smoke and a man in a short-sleeve button-down shirt holding a highball glass. Standing on the shoulder of his 7-year-old son is a squirrel monkey no bigger than a kitten. The monkey wears a tiny leather collar and a thin chain. The boy is laughing. The monkey is reaching for a maraschino cherry. In this world, the monkey is not an exotic primate or a zoonotic risk. It is a conversation piece. It is a living accessory to the American dream, as accessible as a new vacuum cleaner or a second car. During the late 1950s and into the 1960s, you could find these animals in the back of comic books, nestled between advertisements for X-ray specs and sea monkeys. For $18.95, a squirrel monkey would be shipped to your door via the REA Express Pet Trade Records, 1962. They were sold in mall pet shops, sitting in glass enclosures next to parakeets and hamsters. This was a time of boundless domestic confidence. The middle-class home was an experimental laboratory for lifestyle. If you wanted a capuchin to sit on your shoulder while you watched I Love Lucy, the system did not just allow it, it facilitated it. There were no municipal codes banning wildlife in the suburbs because the distinction between wild and domestic was seen as a matter of human will. We had split the atom. Surely we could house train a macaque. The prevalence was higher than we remember. While exact census data for pets did not exist in the modern sense, trade estimates suggest that tens of thousands of small primates were imported annually into the United States for the pet trade during the peak years of the 1960s. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Historical Data, 1968. They appeared on variety shows, in cigarette advertisements, and in the background of fashion shoots in Vogue. The monkey was a symbol of leisure, a sign that the owner had the surplus time and curiosity to manage a creature that served no practical purpose. It was the ultimate novelty. The lighting in these old photos is always bright. The spaces are open. There is a lack of fear. The monkey sits on the Formica countertop next to the percolator. The danger, the potential for a bite, the risk of a rare tropical fever, the eventual psychological breakdown of a social animal kept in a cage, is entirely invisible. It is a moment of cultural protection. The monkey is safe because the society around it has decided that the right to own outweighs the liability of the act. Flash forward to 2026, a modern suburban neighborhood in Virginia. The houses are larger now, clad in neutral-toned SmartSide siding, protected by Ring cameras and high-tech security systems. A white van with government plates is parked at the curb. 2 officers from the State Wildlife Agency are standing at a front door, wearing tactical vests and carrying heavy-duty plastic transport crates. Inside the house, in a basement finished with waterproof luxury vinyl plank and recessed LED lighting, is a 4-year-old Japanese macaque. It is sitting on top of a flat-screen television, screaming. The room is a mess of shredded upholstery and spilled protein shakes. The owner, a 30-year-old man with a thriving TikTok account, is filming the officers with his phone, shouting about his emotional support animal. The scene is heavy with the smell of ammonia and the clinical coldness of a legal intervention. In this decade, the monkey is a biohazard. It is a legal liability. It is a violation of the Dangerous Wild Animal Act, a piece of legislation that has been mirrored and tightened across dozens of states since the early 2000s. State Wildlife Code, 2012. In many jurisdictions today, the fine for possessing an unpermitted primate can exceed $2,000 per day, and the cost of the mandatory emergency seizure can run the owner tens of thousands of dollars. State Department of Agriculture, 2023. The modern space has no room for the monkey. The architecture of the 21st century suburb is built on sanitization. We have filtered the air, softened the water, and ensured every square inch of the property against foreseeable harm. The presence of an animal that can carry herpes B, a virus that is nearly 80% fatal in humans if untreated, CDC 2014, is no longer seen as a lifestyle choice. It is seen as an institutional failure. In the 1960s, if a pet monkey bit a neighbor, it was a neighborhood incident. In 2026, it is a catastrophic breach of homeowners insurance, a public health emergency, and a viral news cycle. The monkey is now physically and socially out of place. It belongs in a sanctuary or a zoo, behind 3 layers of reinforced steel, and under the supervision of people with graduate degrees in primatology. In the modern American home, the monkey is not a guest. It is an intruder. What changed was not the nature of the primate, it was the tolerance of the insurance policy. As the 20th century turned into the 21st, the pet monkey did not vanish. It was just pushed outward, physically and legally. This is the architecture of exclusion. In the 1950s, the monkey lived in the center of the home, the living room. Today, the monkey lives in the peripheral zone. If you want to own a primate now, you generally have to move to a state with loose regulations. And even then, you move to the unincorporated rural areas where the neighbors are too far away to smell the cages or hear the morning vocalizations. The behavior has been geographically marginalized, but the exclusion is also bureaucratic. The center of modern society is protected by a thick layer of paperwork. To legally keep a primate in the few states where it remains possible, one often needs a USDA Class T license, USDA APHIS 2018. This comes with a mandatory program of veterinary care, PVC, and unannounced annual inspections. The inspectors check the gauge of the wire on the cages. They check the square footage of the enrichment area. They check the barrier distance between the animal and the public. The costs are a barrier of their own. A proper outdoor enclosure for a single macaque can cost upwards of $15,000 to meet modern safety standards. Zoo Standards Review, 2019. The price of admission to this lifestyle has been hiked so high that only the extremely wealthy or the extremely dedicated, often those living on the fringe of the economy, can afford it. We have created a world of inside and outside. Inside the system, everything is predictable. Dogs are leashed, cats are microchipped. Risks are mitigated by the HOA. The monkey is outside. It is pushed into the world of private rescues and backyard sanctuaries. These facilities are often hidden behind high fences and do not enter signs. They are the islands where the habits the system no longer protects go to die. The architecture of these places is one of containment, double-door entries, padlocks on every latch, and signs that warn of dangerous primates. It is a stark contrast to the open-air backyard of 1959. The system has decided that some risks are no longer absorbable. We will absorb the risk of a swimming pool or a trampoline. Those have known insurance premiums. We will not absorb the risk of a creature that has its own agency, its own diseases, and a strength that is 5 times that of a human. The monkey has been pushed out of the standard American life and into the liability zone. Who is left? Who still keeps the fire of the pet primate alive in a world that has clearly moved on? There are 3 main groups. First, there are the niche collectors. These are often older individuals who grew up in the 1960s or 70s and still subscribe to the philosophy that a man's home is his castle. They view state regulations as an infringement on their personal liberty. They are the ones who have lived with capuchins for 40 years, keeping them in basement enclosures, quietly flouting the new municipal codes. They are a disappearing breed, their numbers dwindling as the legacy permits issued in the 1990s expire. State Wildlife Records, 2021. Second, there is the attention economy. This is the newest and most visible group. They are the influencers who realize that a baby monkey in a diaper is worth millions of views on social media. In 2023 alone, pet monkey videos on major platforms garnered over 500 million views. Social Media Analytics, 2023. For these owners, the monkey is a high-risk, high-reward investment. They are willing to risk the $5,000 fine and the animal's seizure for the clout in the ad revenue. It is a modern, digital version of the 1950s novelty, but with a cynical, commercial edge. Finally, there are the loneliness closers. These are often people who have suffered a significant loss or are socially isolated. They see the monkey not as an animal, but as a surrogate. Primates are eerily human. They have fingernails, they have expressions, they grasp your hand. For a person who has been pushed to the edges of society, the intense, demanding bond with a monkey provides a sense of being needed that the modern, transactional world does not offer. The data, however, is grim for these owners. Estimates suggest that there are still roughly 15,000 primates kept as pets in the U.S. Primate Sanctuary Association, 2022. But the intake at specialized rescues is at an all-time high. In the last decade, primate rescues in the U.S. have reported a 40% increase in surrender requests. Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, 2024. People buy the baby, realize they cannot provide the enrichment the system now demands, and find themselves unable to afford the liability. They are people who have tried to bring the outside into the inside and failed. The sun is setting on a sanctuary in Florida. It is the blue hour, the time when the heat of the day breaks and the insects start their rhythmic buzzing. In a large, multi-story enclosure of heavy steel mesh, an old capuchin named Charlie sits on a wooden platform. Charlie was born in a pet shop in 1988. He spent 20 years in a suburban house in Ohio, living in a spare bedroom. He once wore a jersey. He once ate cereal at a kitchen table. Now he is surrounded by others of his kind, but he does not quite know how to be a monkey. He watches the cars on the distant highway through the fence. The sanctuary is silent, except for the occasional hoot from a neighboring cage. There is no one here to film him. There is no one here to put him on their shoulder. There is only the long, slow passage of time and the high-tech security lights that flick on as the darkness deepens. The system has done its job. The suburbs are safe. The insurance policies are secure. The zoonotic risks have been contained. The world is sanitized, predictable, and quiet. The monkey is where he belongs. The humans are where they belong. The chain is broken. The fire is out.